This is the State of the Nation, the Taco State of the Nation edition, being the Tuesday of 25th May 2021. Karibu sana. Usual, I request that when you join me, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to widen the broadcast. This is the Tackle, and Tackle begins now. State of the Nation, tuko na advice Mundalo, na tuko na KHALENDE, mtu wa Matayos. Anatuambia atapeleka Waluya Karen. Mwana juzi alikuwa amepeleka hen porridge. Waluya pale Karen. Yeye ndiye ameshikilia halwale. Wale Western ameshikilia bull fighter. So sijui kama ni bull fighter basi atakuwa donkey fighter. Anyway, this is a Tackle base. When you join, please like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. To that, like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. This is a Tackle. The Tackle begins now. Lakini kama kawaida, kabla hatujaanza Tackle, lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu tukirudi tunakuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship you, God, for your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive this morning. Thank you for what you've given hands to do as we wake up to go and walk. We pray that you may be able to bless the work of our hands. We thank you for the tacklers who have joined us this morning. I pray that you may be able to meet them at the point of individual needs. As we start off with us, when we finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. Just mighty name I do pray, trusting and believing. Amen and amen. Okay. Naona kuna majamaa maamuka hapa tayari. Naona captain nani? Okay. Hata niangalia salamu zikina nani hapo wameanza kuamka mapema hii. Tafadhali, as usual, when you join, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us, and that you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to widen the broadcast. When you join, please like, share, and let us know where you're watching us from. Kama kawaida pia tunaanza na State of the Nation. State of the Nation tunaanza kujua kwamba mwananchi mahali ulipo alikoje. State of the Nation 0779-800-010 0779-800-010 0779-800-010. State of the Nation 0779-800-010 0779-800-010. Immaculate Rono anasema good morning to Immaculate. Naona Klein Kelvin anasema good morning. Jeff Binyo live from Ngong. Asante sana. Munga lita continue. Morning team Tackle tuning in for Convent United Kingdom. Good to be part of this morning State of the Nation edition. Salimia our good friend from Mathayos, and I had to Google the place. Yeah, you could have naitwa Mathayos. Iko najua hata mimi. Itakuwa litanifundisha maneno. Evan Sarafserone. So good morning GB watching from Nakuru. Asante sana Jimmy Mary. Good morning. Good morning to Don Maverick. Good morning one and all watching from the CBD. Good to see you, my brother Langat Kibrono Dixon. Good morning from Nyali, Mombasa. Sante David Keegan answer live from Kasarani. Good morning, Sas. Good morning to you, sir. I'm on Biward. Good morning, Mr. Bitok, logged in from Sisibo. Sante Pastor mwenyewe Bishop Moses Kamau ansema good morning to class, logged in from 64. No embarambang. Embarambamba alianza na roho bwana, anaendelea kumaliza na mwili. Nairobi yako hapa. Mtu mwenye embarambamba Nairobi alimkosea sana. Haya. Next G anasema good morning GB live from diaspora. Asante sana to diaspora. Robins Ruta morning Bitok watching from Nyali, Mombasa. Asante sana to Mombasa. Emmanuel Sedem, good morning good people. Good morning to my brothers. Good to see you. Natafutana tukunywe kahawa bwana. Kwanza na hii baridi need to have some coffee. Dominic Ruta live from Paris. Asante sana to Paris. Good to see you. Naona Rose Liala, Lady Tosha, Rosie from Tarbo. Good morning Bitok. Greetings from my staff mates at St. Columban's Primary Tarbo. Salimia sana to St. Columban's Tarbo. Asante sana. Nitatembea huko Rosie nitatembea huko Rosie. Nitatembea huko wasalimie. State of the Nation nambari ni 0779 0779-800-010 0779-800-010. Okay, unaweza piga simu tuambie mahali ulipo, hali ikoje. Emmanuel Serema sema David Ruta ameamsha David Ruta somewhere. Asante sana, na ameamsha mdosi hapo, amuka sana mkubwa. Naona Emmanuel Serema ameamsha Honorable Moses Kebenenyi Ganeta. Asante sana Captain Sang, good morning watching from Kericho County ndani yake. Asante kama Mzing, good morning from Marwa. Asante sana watu wa Marwa. Karekiwa Masi na wakilisha watu wote wa Nyeri nikiwa Kayole. Asante sana tu wa Oyole. Good to see you. Tracy Shiku, hi Bito. Good morning to you. Tracy Shiku, I hope you're doing well. Good morning to you. Good morning. Kiproti Koromicha all the way from Nakuru CBD. Anasema good morning team Tackle watching live from Nakuru CBD. Salimia sana tu wa Nakuru. Good to see you Kiproti Koromicha. Mwema Steve Mwema, good morning from Nairobi, a city with a heap of uncollected garbage. Pole sana Mwema, naona unangangana na takataka ya Nairobi. Sijui nini inaendelea. Sijui kama ni mtu anataka kumaliza kanaitwa nani Commander badi, lakini maze takataka Nairobi. Woi. Haya, Desmond Mutungo Ngugi anasema good morning Bitok. Good morning to you. Pauline Cherab, good morning Tackle team. Good morning, asante sana. State of the Nation 0779-800-010 State of the Nation 0779-800-010 State of the Nation 0779-800-010. Good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Tafadhali tukifika, tafadhali niambie unatazama kutoka wapi. Like, share and let us know where you watching us from. But angalia watu wa YouTube, kama sijui watu wa YouTube ni nani ameamka pale YouTube. Kama tayari tuko pale YouTube. Haya, naona pia tuna simu hapa. Hello, jambo.
Yeah, good morning, Gerard.
State of the Nation, good morning, sir.
Yeah, this is Martin Waru from Kasarani.
Hey, Martin Waru, jambo.
Salama sana.
Ukoje, bro?
Mimi niko salama.
Tuambie mambo ya Kasarani.
Kasarani kwema. Wananchi bado wanajitahidi.
Lakini Wakenya wanabidii sana.
Sana. Wakenya ni watu wa kujitahidi na wanaendelea kujenga nchi. They don't go on a break. Yeah. So I'm happy to join you in the State of the Nation.
Asante sana, bro.
Yeah.
Wewe unaona hali ya nchi inakaaje leo?
Shaky. Lakini Kenyans are determined. Like I've told you that even when, the political class and the leaders go on a break or they are not, shaping up or, rising to the occasion, Kenyans are consistent, they are persistent, they always play their part, and I would actually say they go the extra mile. With all the challenges and the problems that, this country has gone through, if it were not for the determination and the resilience of Kenyans, kabisa. Yeah, I think I want to start from the ceremony that the president presided over yesterday, which is very interesting because a president presiding over a ceremony to hand over a commission where the court has, pronounced itself and said, issued an order saying that, this commission should be domiciled in this particular ministry. And then, the president goes on to preside over the transfer of that commission to the Department of Defense against, the court order. That arrogance, that flagrant disobedience of court orders, it actually captures what is wrong with this administration. And, the disobedience of court orders has become the hallmark of this administration. Which also reminds me, if I would also comment on the impeachment, the so-called impeachment of Cabinet Secretary Matiang'i.
Yes.
That guy also has many court orders against him, including one which, found him to be unfit to hold public office. And I don't think that court order was appealed, It's still, very active. And of course, he is in contempt. How I pray that post-2022, some of these guys are going to have, a lot of problems. Because I don't know whether a person like Matiang'i thinks he's going to be controlled all the time,
Yes.
That idea of, him being impeached is even gaining traction within the political circles. It should send a warning to him.
Interesting, even within Jubilee.
Yeah. Even a person like Nkunjiru and Mbugu said, we are going to pull resources.
Even if it means working UDA and ODM.
Yeah. And make these a joint project.
Interesting times to be alive.
Yeah. And it reminds me of something that Gigi Karaoke said. And Gigi was a powerful minister of internal security during Kanu's eras, yeah? I was not born that time, but I hear he used to ride in the same limousine with President Moi, But Gigi said something very fundamental and very profound, and I think politicians should reflect. And in his book, he said, the power belongs to the people with the vote. And those people in public office should always be reminded that they exercise donated power. They must not get comfortable. They must not abuse their offices or their positions. Today, if Matiang'i if he became a liability, I can tell you that the president will dismiss him, and nobody will remember him. So public officers and particularly state officers must conduct themselves within the constitution, within the law, and remember that these offices they hold in trust, and it is for a short time. I've always said they must do that which is right, even when it is not it doesn't look so good to do so. So I think this issue of court orders is really concerning me, and because it offends the aspiration to be a nation to be ruled by the rule of law and constitutionalism.
Okay.
The last of the issues that I would want to comment about is the UDA and the upcoming by-elections. We hope that they are going to be peaceful first of all, and that people are going to be given an opportunity to campaign peacefully without intimidation from the state, especially the security agencies, and also that candidates, the IEBC is going to play its part and realize that it has a lot of powers within the constitution and take charge of elections. We don't want to see things like in Uganda where the security forces take over the management of elections, because the moment we start going through that path, it's very slippery and there is no going back, and that affects the credibility of elections so much. So I really want to see candidates going out there in Kiamba and in Mogoga, in Kabete, and see, let people talk to the electorate and sell their agenda and, persuade voters. And the ones that are going to be elected, they will be elected. The ones that are not going to be elected, there is another move on. Okay. Yeah. So, otherwise, say hi to KHALENDE.
KHALENDE mtu wa Matayos. Alituambia anapeleka Waluhya Western delegation, alipeleka kabisa.
Na nikaona hapo ameongea, he made some very
karibu amalize Kiingereza bwana. Niko naambia amebakisha kuomba kazi, amemaliza.
No. He's a young person. He's a young person, and I think I watched his clip and I was very much persuaded. And also, as a young person, I would support a young person, irrespective of which political party he, subscribes to, and because a young person is a young person, they are going to be around. So Joe KHALENDE ni mtu wa Hustler Nation kabisa pale na UDA. Labda atuambia anaona namna gani. Haya.
Asante ndugu yangu Arui.
Okay, sir.
Thank you so much, really appreciate. Good morning, State of the Nation. State of the Nation.
Good morning, Lady Tosha.
Yo Lady Tosha, mambo?
Poa.
Habari ya Tarbo?
Poa.
Ndakuja kabisa tukunywe chai hapo. Inaitwa ile maduka, Tapsago ama hiyo duka iko wapi? Inaitwaje? Karibu na Jua Kali.
Karibu Kosaje.
Karibu Kosaje hapo kabisa. Ndakuja tukunywe chai hapo Kosaje.
Bas. Si tuko chocho kabisa nyuma ya Deputy President. Ni bedroom yake iko chonjo. Sasa. Mimi nashangaa na hii mambo. Unajua kuna corona? Sasa ukiona kweli Raila Odinga Kisumu na hiyo grupu yote, na huko ndio tunasikia kuna corona ile mbaya
ya India.
Mimi nashangaa kabisa. Hii kitu hakiko ama hakuna, watu waambie ukweli. Kwa sababu hiyo mimi naona kama itaongeza, na wale watu wanaenda huko wote wenye wametoka sehemu zingine wataenda nayo mpaka sehemu zingine. Kwa hivyo wakati wanafanya hizo siasa zao wajue kuna corona. Alafu pia nilisikia akisema kwamba reggae haijastop, reggae ilistop. Unless kama anajua vile koti zitasema.
Kwani siku hizi mnacheza R&B? Ama rumba? Siku hizi mnacheza R&B ama rumba?
Rumba. Kwa hivyo waende pole kabisa. Mimi sioni kama ni vizuri.
Okay.
Hizo mikutano kufanyika hivyo na kuna corona.
Okay.
Hawa ndio wanaongeza corona Kenya. Alafu siasa. Mimi naona Kiamba hiyo tutachukua, hiyo ni UDA.
Na mkianguka Rozi.
Nalala usingizi nikijua hiyo ni yetu.
Usilale sana. Kinaweza umana.
Otherwise hatuna maneno, ndio naenda shule, walimu wote wametusalimia.
Salimia walimu sana. Nitakuja hapo kabisa. Nitakuja na chai na kangumu. Nasikia hakuna kangumu ngumu ya chai, mbele ya chai.
Poa.
Nitakuja shule. Asante sana, salimia walimu sana Rozi. Watarbo.
Asante.
Thank you, State of the Nation. Imekuwa State of the Nation. It has been State of the Nation. 07798010, 07798010. State of the Nation gives you an opportunity to talk to us and tell us what's going on where you are. Mahali uliko. Takwenda kupa nafasi ya kuweza kutuambia hali ikoje mahali ulipo. Naona Robert Kituma anasema good morning Jello Bito. Good morning to my brother Alexi anasema Jonjo. Nasema mheshimiwa utawala anasema good morning my people traveling to the village but falling kindly. Asante sana. Salimia mtaa pale nyumbani. David kama morning morning team tackle, happy to see you. Good to see you my brother. Naona Sauce Kabela zinakuona sana. Hey Sauce, good to see you bana. Jamaa yangu huyu Sauce bana. Liandaje baba. Haya naona John Dike wanaina anasema good morning to my brother. Moes Abdi teacher morning tackle tuko ndani kabisa. Joel Aramachama Diaspora edition, good morning. Good evening to you. Zama greetings. Asante sana Jane Messi. Good morning tackle watching from Atlanta. Thank you so much guys from Atlanta. We really appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Moses Kamwana sama Iblem kijana ya Langa Zalbato Nyakundi ya Menya Pedla. Is on utukemaramba tukanairo. Okay, Sagonge Blaga. Good morning hapa Slovakia. Asante sana to Slovakia. Slovakia inakuanga wapi? Slovakia iko wapi? Advice. Najua jamaa Matayo sajui.
Slovakia is ilikuwa within the USSR.
So he broke off from the USSR.
I remember.
What's the story? I remember. You don't know. Just say you don't know.
Unajua classes of history ndio nakumbuka such long names being written. I don't know how they are really helping us now. But those long names.
La Coast Kesa, good morning kijana Tosha. Asante sana, good morning to La Coast KE. Naona William Wangi, good morning Bito Kutawala kama kawaida. Asante sana. Wacha tuanze na Mundalo. Jambo Mundalo.
Jambo sana
Gerald. How's your week been?
My week has been okay.
Umepotelea bwana. Tumetuona wiki 3 umepotea hivi, si ndio?
Hapa unajua sasa niliangalia nikaona kalenda yameenda, amekunywa chai Karen. Sasa nikaona anataka kuja kulima mimi hapa hivi na yeye ameshiba. Kapotea kidogo. Yes, but I've been up and down. Traversing this country and just getting to know what
you're also running for president.
The people, what the people say. Hii maneno unajua niko na 1 million. You know that's what the IBC requires. Mtu anahitaji kuwa na 1 million. Anyone with 1 million you can vie for president.
1 million shillings or 1 million votes?
1 million votes is what you need to start winning the election. Okay. 1 million shillings is what you need to start vying for the election.
Okay.
Na niko na watu wako na pesa kama kina Khalende, kama Bitok. Wanaweza changa pesa ingine tukatraverse this country. And we can have the first the youngest president of this country. And we can have a very effective government by
niliambia Sakaja. Niliambia Sakaja tuanzishe mfumo mwingine wa vijana.
True.
1963 fresh. You know, this country needs a new independence. An independence from the old folks. That's what I tell you. I mean, we need to break away. The country needs to break away from the system. A system of those who have controlled power for the longest time.
Since 1960.
So we need to redeem the country. We need another freedom dispensation.
I think you're right.
Don't know. So I told Sakaja bana pangeni mambo tukuwa na 1963 fresh. Hata kama tutazama tuko tulijaribu.
Tujaribu. Unajua kila kitu inaanza na kujaribu. Hata hawa jamaa wenye wako sahi before they became what they are, they had to try. They started in some of them in their late 20s, in their early 30s. That's why they are where they are today. That's why I keep saying we should not blame them too much. We should focus more on what are we doing today, so that later on in life we will be where they are today, so that we don't keep saying they are the reason we are suffering. Yet we are the young ones and we are the ones with the energy. Let us put up a fight. We are the most populous. Tuko wengi. Ukienda IBC register wanasema the youth are the majority.
Vijana ndio wengi.
Therefore that means if we are able to come together and front somebody who is a visionary na sisi wote twende nyuma yake, we shed off our selfish ambitions. Unajua shida ya vijana pia we are very selfish. When we say we want to put a youth mbele, Bitoka anataka, Khalende anataka, kila mtu anataka. But if we can be able to agree on somebody and front that person, we can give these people a run for their money, and it can be the end of tanga economics and
unaona vile nani amekuangalia Khalende.
Najua Khalende anapenda mambo ya bottom up.
State of the nation Mali, umeonaje wiki imekwaje? Unaona nchi iko hali gani?
Unfortunately the country is not really moving in the right direction. I agree with the caller who has just talked about the rallies in Kisumu despite the COVID pandemic. We are seeing politics continuing, like the political gear has just gone to, I think, gear 3. And things are getting now, again, they're getting murkier as always. The focus on our economy is not as much. Most of the week, all of us are talking about the Juja by-election. We are talking about the Monchari by-election. And the unfortunacy of the police brutality that we're able to see. The state forcing people upon the people. I think the state needs to get to understand that the language of the voter is changing with time.
Okay.
And the voter in Kenya is continuously refusing the politics of intimidation. And I think Jubilee has not been taking part in by-elections. That's why they are learning this late. UDA has taken part in by-elections together with ODM. The politics of chest thumping, ODM saw what it did to them in Msambweni. UDA saw what that politics did to them in Kabuchai and Matungu. So they have learned their lessons. And that's why you can see in Juja and Bonchari, they were not very... They reduced the thumping of their chest and went down to the people just to persuade the voter. But Jubilee, because they had taken leave from by-elections, they had just come the other day. And so I think that's why they are still hell-bent on the politics of intimidation. And that's why they learned their lesson, especially thoroughly so in Juja, which were able to have a win from a little-known PEP party, which in my view is a rising champion in Mount Kenya politics. Jubilee should start being wary early enough so that they can reorganize and put the house in order, starting from the Kiambaa by-election. Otherwise, if we continue going that direction, then Moses Kuria's ego would soon be too big to contain. Yes.
Itakuwa kubwa zaidi.
Itakuwa kubwa
sana. Halende.
Yes.
Habari yako ba?
Mimi niko salama.
Yes. Tuambie kwa ulienda pale alafu nini kafanyika?
Karen. Mambo ya chai.
Hawana iko kwa mambo ya chai.
Tuambie the state of the nation.
Yes, to set the record clear, we were at Karen because we were invited by the deputy president. Now, if you are invited by the deputy president as a concerned citizen, what you need to do is to heed to the invite and you attend. But the most important thing is that the deputy president invited us, people from the western region, so that he can sell to us his agenda, his manifesto, and specifically it was about his bottom-up economic model to give at least the leaders who are seen to be aligned to him, to give them an overview and an understanding on what it means bottom-up economics. So from there, we agreed that we will go back to our respective counties after understanding what bottom-up economics is, so that we can raise the issues from our county level, the issues that affect our people, or the economic issues that the next government, which will be formed by the 5th president, Honorable William Ruto, should be able to handle. And from there, that's how my brother Mundao is smiling. He thinks you are just drinking tea. Of course.
D must be drunk.
Of course, yes.
D must be drunk.
And the deputy president, being a generous person, waluya lazima wakunywe chai. Otherwise, everything is okay. And to me, the state of the nation, first thing first. And I would like to congratulate CJ, the new CJ, Martha Koome, the first female Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. Congratulations to her and all the girl child in this country. Girls are winning. But one thing that is very visible from that, and I have two observations. One is that finally we need to discuss the gender bill. Because our politicians have failed us and they have ended up discussing gender bill in one perspective of leadership position, either in parliament, senate, or the executive, or actually the elective positions. But if you go to other professions, like now the legal profession, if you go to any class anywhere currently, 60% are female. So automatically, and even if you want to look at it in another way, you can look at the leadership of Law Society of Kenya. You realize that it has already been overtaken. Actually, the people who need to be protected there are males. So something needs to be
So the
done.
gender discussion now needs to change to be men.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go for specifically like the legal profession, the gender bill will be protecting the male, will be protecting the boy child. Another observation is that where the country is, Martha Koome's leadership of the judiciary is going to be defined by how this BBI thing is going to unravel. So it's going to be a very, very critical thing with her being at the apex of our judiciary to be able to maneuver and balance. Because the most unfortunate thing in this country is that our political problems, we want to solve them using the law and judiciary. So we end up fighting, and even at the end of the day, we start tarnishing the name of judiciary. And lastly, a critical observation is about devolution. Currently, there are 5 impeachment motions lined up against 5 governors. That is Wangamati from Bungoma, Ali Korane, Garissa, then Nyaribo from Nyamira, Nyoro in Kiambu, Otichitolo, Vihiga, and actually it's 6. Even the Kimeme is under siege. So what I'm able to observe from this impeachment motion is that the devolution, one thing that Kenyans are proud of in this 2010 constitution that we enacted for ourselves, is devolution. But devolution is under threat, and the national government, through the executive arm, has been able to stifle the critical objective of our devolution. And all governors are under threat. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a governor, and he was telling me that all 47 governors are scared. All 47. And you cannot do anything. Are scared. So devolution is under threat.
Wanaishi na wasiwasi.
They scared of this story. You know.
To finish, one of the observation, and I think our brother, the caller, said about the president, about him launching the Kenya Meat Commission in Machakos, and handing it over to the military, and yet there's a court order. I've seen my friends from the other wing of Kieleweka shouting that the courts need to respect the president, Kenyans need to respect the president, even thinking that some of us who are allied to Tanga are not respecting the president. But one thing that the president and the people of Kenya must understand is that respect is earned. And if the president is not able to respect the constitution that he swore to protect, who will respect him? Yes.
Okay. Haya, swala nyeti. Anataka kuheshimu kama heshimu sheria, ndio rais anasema tubadilisha katiba ndio heshimiwe zaidi. Haya, ndio mambo hapa alivyo. Acha tena madukani tulipe madeni. Alafu tukirudi tuanze story ya leo. Haya, Maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari yako you import directly in Maridadi Motors. When you import in Maridadi Motors, you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. You get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import directly with Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors give you an opportunity to import directly. Mtu kama Kalende najua sasa nataka kwa mbunge. So you can import a Toyota Prado with a sunroof ile ya kusalimia wananchi pale juu na kupeana 50-50. You can import in Maridadi Motors and you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import directly with Maridadi Motors. Maridadi Motors gives you an opportunity to invest your money. If you have a surplus income that you're keeping somewhere, you can invest in Maridadi Motors in the import to sell model, where you get to import the car under your name. You get to import the car. I want to underline this, under your name. There are a lot of guys who are saying, okay, how can I trust that the money that I've invested will be secure? The car is imported under your name and they get to sell on your behalf. You get to up to 15% income. 15% income on each investment. Put ukiweka milioni moja inakuwa ngapi? Returns ni 150,000, si ndio? Haya, 150k ukiweka milioni moja unakula 150,000. On Maridadi Motors at 15% interest or 15% profits on every cash that you get to invest. That is import to sell model by Maridadi Motors. That gives an opportunity to invest your surplus money and you get one up to 15% income on money invested in. Maridadi Motors Sacco also gives you an opportunity to save. Kama unataka kuwekeza akiba mahali, if you want to save money, you can save at Maridadi Motors. We need to revive the culture of saving. If you want to save money, please save at Maridadi Motors Sacco. Na ikifika mahali ambapo unataka gari, if you get a point where you need to buy a car, you can get it at 50% savings at Maridadi Motors Sacco. Alafu ile nyingine unaanza kulipia polepole ukiendesha gari yako mdogo. Kama gari kama ni Kalende 5 million, una save kwa Sacco 2.5 million. Alafu hiyo nyingine unaanza kulipia polepole ukiwa unaomba kura pale Matayos. Ukizama pia Matayos tutajua inakuaje. Haya, ala pia inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kungarisha, inakupa gari na kungarishia pia. Spa Motor Clean pale Siada Mall pale nyuma, inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kungarisha gari yako kabisa. Wacha kupeleka magari kwa car wash mahali gari inaoshwa na gunia. Hapo Spa Clean Motors mahali ambapo inaoshwa maridadi sana, inaoshwa na sabuni safi. Thursdays tunapatana pale, na nikipatana na wewe kama unaosha gari pale maridadi Motors Spa Clean Motors Spa pale nyuma ya Siada Mall, nikikupata kama unaosha gari na kupiga keychain haraka upesi, alafu tunaweza kupiga kazi pamoja. Alafu pia maridadi Motors inakupa nafasi, maridadi Driving Academy, sio driving school, maridadi Driving Academy inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kujifunza kuwa driver maridadi zaidi. Ukinunua gari pale unapewa nafasi ya kuweza kujifunza pia kuendesha gari katika maridadi Driving Academy kwa bei nafuu zaidi, alafu unapata skill swafi maridadi zaidi. Alafu pia kuna majamangu wa airtime pale, Swift Airtime gives an opportunity to load airtime even if kama una balance kwa simu na uko nafuliza, you can load it. Kimbia pale pay bill, weka business number 325. Alafu kwenda kwa business number ni account number, nambari yako ya simu. Kama nambari yako ni kama yangu ya studio, unaenda pale unaweka pay bill, unaweka kwa business number 325, alafu unaenda kwa account number namba yako ya simu 07798010, nambari yako ya simu ndio unaweka pale, alafu unaweza kupata airtime maridadi zaidi. D-Square Limited ndio watu ambao wanahakikisha kwamba tumeng'ara na mwana hii. D-Square pale Ketia Building Eldoret, D-Square Limited, D-Square Official Wear pale Eldoret, inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kung'ara zaidi. Ukiona vile nimevaa hivi ni look ya D-Square, unapiga zaidi kwa bei nafuu. Na ukifika pale waambiana kwamba umetumwa na Gerald Bito. Kama uliona ad kwa Tetakol unapigwa discount haraka upesi. Jina yangu saa zingine ni pesa. Ada pale D-Square akiatia, utafute jamani tu Dandan, umwambie umetumwa na Gerald Bito Tetakol, anakupa discount yako haraka upesi. Watu wa Zigo pia, mzigo wanaweza kubeba delivery within Nairobi. Zigo anasema you ask we deliver. Zigo inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kufanya delivery zako within Nairobi haraka upesi kwa bei nafuu zaidi. A wide network of motorcycles unafanya delivery yako doorstep delivery haraka upesi na kufikia. Kama pia unataka kuadvertise, tafadhali tuandikie ujumbe kwenye inbox, ama pia upigie nambari ya simu 0731027727. If you want to advise, please you can call 0731027727, ama pia unaweza tuandikia kwenye inbox. Haya, asante sana. Naja tuingie sasa kwenye kazi. Nitaanza naye pia Mundalo. Nimeona watu wamezungumzia mambo ya Matiang'i. Do you think Matiang'i should be impeached, and why?
Matiang'i's need to be impeached, I think, is coming out of what has been continuously happened, especially in the by-elections, where we have seen an extended arm, an extended use of force by the executive wing of government. We're able to see that happen in Kisii, and we're able to see that happen in Juja, to the extent that the election in Juja had to be halted up to the next day, over 12 hours, just because things could not just be able to go down as usual. We are moving away from this, the days when it was the people fighting each other during by-elections, to a situation whereby it is the state almost putting up a fight against the people during such by-elections. So I think there is some reason that is a bit justifiable on why then the parliamentarians would think that Matiang'i would need to be impeached. But again, Gerald, you and me know that impeachment processes are political processes. And so it is not just about what someone has been able to do. It is also about which side of the divide of the politics they represent. And therefore, I don't see a Matiang'i impeachment being very successful, because I am almost sure that the president would hold brief and protect his super cabinet secretary. So I don't see the impeachment going through, but then it should come as a wake-up call, not just to Matiang'i, but to the cabinet secretaries and the executive at large, that it is high time that they concentrate on their work. Let us have a de-link between the politics and the executive. Even if the president would want to participate in the politics, he would freely participate in the politics in the capacity of a party leader of Jubilee and front the politicians within Jubilee, than forcing down the cabinet secretaries to take active role in politics. It is affecting their work, it is affecting their service delivery, and at the end of the day, it is polarizing what would have been otherwise a very good effort from them to protect the citizens. We expect mostly Matiang'i would be expected to, in the event of by-elections, he would be ensuring that they are safe and they are peaceful, and that the Mwananchi can go out and vote and go back to their home.
All right,
but the someone on the line is the one being blamed. It definitely becomes murky.
Haya, jambo, habari asubuhi.
Salama sana Gerald, habari asubuhi.
Safi mdosi, naongea na nani?
This is Farid Faraj.
Farid, mambo?
Poa sana, habari ya siku?
Salama bro, niambie, umetupotelea?
Niko mashughuli ndio imeshikika asubuhi. But I'm back,
Okay, karibu niambie.
On the case of Matiang'i, Matiang'i won't and will never be impeached. That is just but a pedestrian chatting and everything. It can never happen, And in Kenya, you cannot separate the executive from politics. At any time, the president is a politician, and you cannot separate them. And Matiang'i has to please his boss by trying to make his party win, at least in any by-election or any election that might be conducted anytime soon. Although Jubilee is limping because of their use of police in their by-elections. When people feel threatened, Kenyans are people who have their own brains and minds. The more you threaten them, the more they want to know what is the consequence, what is the worst that can happen to us. So if you use police, they just say, let us vote against these people. We see what can they do.
Yes, beyond this.
They are tired, you see now the threshold has been reached. The threshold limit is almost, the elastic limit is almost exceeded. So they are just saying, let us do it. We see what can be done.
Okay.
Because now they have not seen any difference by voting in Jubilee. Their problems are still there, and there is nothing good that is coming from the government. And then by intimidating them, they want to see what the government can do beyond what they wish to be done. Asante sana Bwana Gerald. You have a fantastic morning.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, my brother. Asante, umesalimika. Na waje kutupotelea.
Sawa Gerald, ndakuwa na changamka.
Asante. Tangu ongea Kibuguzi na kuogopa sana. Aliongelesha afya hapa Kibuguzi bwana mpaka afya kona. Hapa kinaumana. I think sorry I interrupted your thoughts advice please.
Yes, so I agree with the caller when he talks about the impossibility, the almost impossibility of Matiang'i being impeached, because it's a political process.
Okay.
It is a process that is not just about what he has been able to do and what parliamentarians feel. Because at the end of the day, these parliamentarians will tell us about how they feel he has stepped onto the democracy. But when it comes to the vote, now it will be a question of being whipped a particular direction by a particular party boss and the interests of the party. Now that becomes the reason why then an impeachment motion against Matiang'i is not something that very close to possible. But this should serve as a wake-up call so that then the cabinet concentrates more on its service delivery for the country as a cabinet, not necessarily delving into political matters of the country. In as much as you might want to please there are very many ways of pleasing your boss, Gerald. You can please your boss by doing your work expeditiously well. It is not just about now leaving your work and going now into the politics to look for a win for the candidate of the president. It will not basically work. What you need for a win is a good political strategy. It is not intimidation of voters. And the best people to craft the best political strategy to help the president are the politicians within Jubilee, not the executive.
Okay.
The executive arm of government, those people are not wired to do politics. They know the language of instruction. They know the language of memo. That language does not resonate with the voter.
Okay. Haya, kabla sijakupa ndugu yangu Kalende, niko na Arama kwa simu. Arama, jambo.
Hey, Bwana Gerald.
Mambo bro.
Good morning.
Safi.
Poa sana. Tuko plantation usiku overnight sasa nikasema wacha niongee na nyinyi kidogo.
Kwa kwenye plantation tuambie dadi.
Sasa huyu jamaa anaitwa Kalende. Wacha nimuulize kwa swali.
Muulize kwa yako hapa tu.
Sasa hawa magavana wanatetemeka kwa sababu wameiba pesa. Kama hawajaiba pesa wanaogopa nini? Yeah, the case watakuwa impeach, ikuja Senate, they have a case to prove, they prove their case, they go back if they are clean. But if they are not clean, that's why they are scared. So to me, devolution is working, at least part of it. Accountability is being done. Yeah? Okay. Watu waache mchezo. Hii mambo ya mtu kwenda kutengenezea watu wheelbarrow ya aina kansa, alafu let them go free. We should not have those things. Yeah? People going, mtu anatravel kutoka Kisumu ati anaenda sijui Dubai kufanya benchmarking ya kuuza samaki. That's nonsense. Do benchmarking in Kisumu. Why do you have to go somewhere else to do it? What is this benchmarking? That is misuse of public funds. These people should be held accountable. The governor is the CEO of the county. So if his people in the office are mismanaging funds, he is responsible. Because at the end of the day, he appends his signature on those documents. That where that money is being expensed. Mtu kama like our late governor in Nyamira who built a gate here almost $500,000 for 10,000 akakula $500,000. These things need to be held accountable for bwana. Hii mchezo wacha kutufanyia mchezo bwana Kalende. Kuwa serious. Mimi nilifikiri wewe ni hasa kumbe wewe ni hasa la mwenye yako na kitambi.
Ana kitambi bwana. Tumbe kwa mgongo ya Kalende. Ana kitambi kabisa. Ile tumbe inaonekana kama zile ameshiba.
Ndugu yangu.
Huyo anakuja anafunga mshipi na kuja kwa studio ndio tumbo isionekane.
Naweza kuwa anavaa ile ya wamama ya kufinya tumbo. Inaitwa nini?
Ndugu yangu.
So to me, yes.
My explanation of devolution being under threat is that currently, if you look at the objectives of why we created devolution, is that to empower the people at grassroots to be at the decision-making table. But with the current threats and intimidation from the executive on most of this governor, it has made it impossible for most of this governor to make independent and decisions that will resonate very well with the people at grassroots. I
disagree.
You see, I agree with you entirely on public wastage, embezzlement of funds, and misuse of public resources. But there's a way we need to protect county government, because this is a deliberate effort by the executive to stifle and to kill devolution in this country. By the time devolution will be removed in this country, you will not have realized how it has been removed.
Wewe bwana Kalende sijui ni kuitia Jehova Wanyonyi akuja ongea na wewe kidogo ama namna gani? Kwa sababu
na kuelewa, I understand you very well.
No. Let's talk about this. Let me give you a good example.
Yes. Yeah? Yes.
You know Governor Kifuta Kibwana.
I know him very well.
You remember the problems he had with the MCS?
Yes.
But he stood firm and said, I am doing the right thing for the people.
Yes.
Instead of me giving you money to waste, he went to the people akauliza mnataka nini? Sisi tunataka daraja hapa, tunataka hii. Pesa ndio hii, kazi ifanywe vile mna. Where you need help, let's put the money. The problem with our governors is they dip into the till. So that unajua sasa wewe kama mtu ameenda akaiba. You remember the story people are told? You remember that story where two kids, moja akaenda akatoa kuku ama akavunja sahani, alafu huyu mwingine kumpanisha anamwambia kila saa anamwambia ukijaribu kuongea anamwambia remember the chicken. And the other one is suffering. That is the same thing. The reason why they are being intimidated because they know they did something wrong somewhere.
But
if they try to stand firm, they have nowhere to stand.
Yes,
that is the problem. But if you are accountable to what you do, and you have your paperwork and documentation to show what you have done in the right way.
Yes.
And if there are people who are stealing in your, let's say for example, in his executive people, the cabinet secretaries or whoever he has appointed in the county government, who are mismanaging funds, and he has reported them to the corruption committee or to the police, and these people are in court. Then he can stand up and say, yes, people stole money, but when I found out, I took action. The problem is, huyu akiiba anakutolea sadaka. Sasa nikikutolea sadaka utakuja tena unishtaki.
Now I get the point where we are getting it wrong. For me, I'm talking about devolution. I'm not talking about governors. I can, you see, today I cannot be able to defend any governor because of what is happening in most of this county government. You cannot be able to defend a governor. But we, as Kenyans, we need to defend devolution. And that's where I stand. I'm defending devolution. I'm not defending governors. Because devolution is what is under threat. At the end of the day, the occupant of these offices as governors, they have messed us up. Some of them have looted everything, totally everything. But what they have done is that they're almost going to kill devolution. But in other counties, you can see what the magic that devolution has done. Like the way you have said about Kibwana. Kibwana has done wonders in his county. But there are those, and that is now the achievement of devolution. But you can go in other counties, like specifically Nairobi, like specifically in Kiambu.
Yeah.
We have seen what those governors have done. And they are almost killing devolution in those counties. Even in Nairobi currently, there's still that debate of Nairobi being removed as a county government into another state agency. Yes. So what I'm saying is that we need to be very careful in the essence that we balance. If it's the governor, let's go for the governor, but not devolution.
Okay.
Yes.
So in other words, your statement should have said devolution is threatened, and but don't say that the governors are complaining they are being threatened. The governors is their problem now. Talking of Kiambu and Nairobi, to me, Kiambu and Nairobi is the consequences of our choices.
Yes.
People in Nairobi, people in Kiambu, they knew who they were electing into office, and they chose to focus on the shiny object than what they are going to receive in return or what they wanted to achieve for their county. So those are the consequences of how we vote. As long as we continue to vote mediocre people, we always get mediocre results. That is the problem. If you get people who are serious, make measurable goals. Ask the governor, ask whoever is running for president, like my friend there who is declaring he wants to run for president, for example. We should ask specific questions. What is your goal? What is your leadership philosophy?
Okay.
Give us your 5-year term. How are we going to measure your success at the end of 5 years? Give us your first year success plan. What are your goals? Give us your 100 days success plan. What are your goals for? Be specific. So that mtu akikuja asia mtu anakuja anakuambia tutawajengea 12 stadiums. We will get you laptop. And 5 years later, 20, almost 10 years later, hiyo laptop unaona hata picha peke yake ukiuliza mtoto kwa shule chini hata picha ya laptop ajui hiyo laptop inakaa na gani. We need to be very specific.
Yes.
Unaenda the other side unaambiwa sasa leo tumegoma hatutaki Safaricom. Boss, unakataa Safaricom na hapo ndio unatumiwa pesa. Sasa utafanya nini? Some things are not realistic. Yeah. We need to ask questions. If somebody tells you, hey, you need to go out there and make noise, why would someone pay you 500 shillings KHALENDE for you to go out and make noise in a public place? Uchapo unaona ile rungu wao polisi wanabeba bwana.
Mundao hapa alipigwa rungu.
Hiyo rungu
Mundao alikuwa kwa machozi Monday.
Fighting for the country.
Hiyo rungu ukitandikwa bwana. But if you are going there for the right thing, standing up for the rights of the people, you will not mind hiyo rungu. Lakini kama unaenda tu kupiga kelele ati ulipewa 500, boss, hata wewe you devalue yourself. How?
Uchumi.
Let's value ourselves and let's respect our country. Then we can move forward in the right way. Lakini mambo ingine
So tunaomba tafadhali ucheze na wave. Cheza na wave.
tutaweka mkalo.
Asante sana ndugu yangu. Salimia watu wa plantation.
Okay.
Thank you. Back to you, KHALENDE.
Yes, to buttress my point is that devolution must be protected. And actually, what I was telling my brother, if that BBI thing could have just focused on one thing by strengthening and focusing on improving our devolution, in the essence that things can be able to function and funds can follow functions to the county level, we will be having a wonderful country. We will not be fighting to come here in Nairobi. Everybody will be comfortable in their county government. But also this fight against corruption, we need to question the executive because they have weaponized the fight against corruption to an extent whereby the president has perfected the art of witch hunting his political opponent or people with divergent views with the pretense of using the fight against corruption. So to the to the discussion which you were discussing about the impeachment against Matiang'i. In a proper functioning country, in a proper democracy, Matiang'i ought to have been impeached long time ago. There is a court order. Matiang'i, actually not a court order. Court has already declared that Matiang'i is unfit to hold a public office because of so many court orders that were issued about him and the saga with the Miguna. So Matiang'i, there are enough grounds to impeach Matiang'i. But the way my brother said, because of the political persuasion and the how the kieleweke tangatanga and the handshake thing is playing, we are seeing people who are being impeached in the country are those who are perceived to be of a certain persuasion. But those of another persuasion are not being impeached. And that's begged the question, where is the issue to do with the KEMSA scandal? The president promised the country that with in 21 days, people will be in jail. Hey. Up to today, maybe I don't know how to count those 21 days. That's why.
Unajua kama anahesabu kama Mungu. Mungu alisema siku moja ni miaka 1000 kwake. So never.
So you can understand all those things. Another ground of impeaching Matiang'i, you can see the police brutality. During the by-elections period, the way the police have been harassing people, the way police have been handling politicians, it was evident in Kibera, it was evident in Msambweni, it was happening in Bonchari. Even the handshake partners, currently they're having a problem with Matiang'i because of how he misused the police. How he handled the police during the curfew period. People slept on Thika Road. So you can
at
understand.
Least there was fire.
you can see there are enough grounds to impeach CS Matiang'i. And I think it's high time that he's impeached, and at least we give him lighter duties where he can not use his chest or thorax and be able to use his intellectual capabilities to understand things and be able to help this country to move forward. Okay.
So I think you already commented on the KMC issue and the president going ahead to implement what the courts have found as illegal. I don't know what your thoughts are on that advice.
I think the president has been very consistent in terms of disobedience to court orders. I think we cannot be able to say it has started now. This is something that the trend has been there. We remember since the Miguna drama, we had court order after court order that was issued, and I think that's also where the Matiang'i wars began. That's where he also started disobeying court orders. So the Jubilee regime has really been consistent in its disobedience to court orders. And I would not just even narrow it down to the president alone, but it's basically a regime issue. The Jubilee regime as a whole since 2013 has had this character of disobeying court orders. And so the KMC issue cannot really be put in seclusion as if now that is the only one. So it is unfortunate that this is happening in the 21st century in a country that is now supposed to be moving towards economic prosperity and towards being the likes of Singapore. It is not right that we're having this situation now. The president is setting a very wrong precedence in terms of administration, whereby by now disobedience to court orders is starting to look normal. Now, people always learn from their leaders. Very soon, remember, from the president now, the cabinet secretaries are disobeying court orders. Soon, the people will be disobeying court orders because they will look like they are neither here nor there. They are not anything serious because it will be a trickle down effect. But be that as it may, the courts must also be able to also not just work as though no one supervises them. Because we have also had a history where the courts sometimes give very weird orders. This is the judiciary talk where one person walks in, gets a court order to demolish a building, and 2 minutes later another one walks in and gets a court order to stop the other one from demolishing the same building. And this is the same judiciary. So in as much as we are advocating for the independence of the judiciary, in as much as we are asking the president and the government as a whole to obey court orders, the courts must also act in a way that they make themselves really justifiable, that they appear to be just and they appear to be independent and they appear not to be having political persuasions. Because what is happening now is that it is very easy for people to read political persuasions within the judgments of the court. We have just seen what happened in the BBI process. Today, as Martha Koome takes over office, one of her biggest challenges is how to ensure, because at the end of the day, the people have been, there has been appeal against the decision of the courts on BBI. The court must decide one direction. There can never be two decisions. Now, it is hell-bent on the Chief Justice to work around it and ensure that whichever the decision the courts come up with appears to be an independent and just decision, and not a decision that is persuaded by one side of the political divide. Because as it stands now, we have a lot of political inclination on these court orders. Gerald, you remember, during the elections, we have always had cases where when ODM has an issue, they go all the way to a court where one of their favorite judges is, that is the one who gives them their best orders. When Jubilee has an issue, it goes to, even if the judge is in Marsabit and the issue is in Nairobi, they file the case in Marsabit just to get that favorable decision. That just shows you how our courts have, with time, continued to erode their own independence. So in as much as for the president to be respected, he must respect the constitution with which he swore to protect. But also for the judiciary to be respected, it must appear to be as independent as it is enshrined in the constitution, and not appear to be persuaded by whichever side of the political divide, then accuse Kenyans to start respecting it. The judiciary should not bully us into taking it seriously. The judiciary should persuade us through its work and its actions into us believing its work, not bullying us and just saying, you see, courts must be respected and judges must be protected. Yes, judges must be protected, but they are individuals. They are in this country. Some of them, we can be able to see their political persuasions outright. So it is also, let them not make it difficult for Kenyans to trust them. Let them not just put it on paper that they're independent, but let them appear to be independent even in their decisions. Because look at it this way. From the time the president halted the appointment of the 41 judges, all the way to this time, there has almost been no decision the courts have made in favor of the government. How then can we run away from also believing that the courts are also throwing punches back to the president for not appointing 41 judges? Because in as much as the president might have made a mistake in not appointing the 41 judges, but the courts are supposed to be a justice system. They are not supposed to use their own power to start punching back at the president. When they punch back at the president... Do you think they are punching back at the president? I have said, look at the time, from the time when 41 cases, the appointment of the 41 judges, all the way to this time, there appears to be a consistency in which almost no case against the government has been able to go through. The judiciary seems to have woken up, and all of a sudden, everything about the government is wrong. It is thrown out of court. It makes someone almost believe that it's a punching back. They might not be punching back, but the perception that it comes with, it looks like a punching bag. So that is why it then becomes very difficult for us to really believe in their independence. In as much as we would wish to entrust the judiciary and believe them to the utmost will and give them the respect that they deserve, they must also come out very efficiently and ensure they make Kenyans believe them more. Not just through words, but through actions. Okay.
You see,
do you feel the judiciary is punching back at the executive? The MUNDALO is saying.
President Uhuru reminds me of my childhood. You remember that the owner of that Kusivo ball, we used to call it Kusivo there in Bulanda village. That ball where you use makaratasi unashona. The owner of that ball used to determine which team will get a penalty and which team will win.
And who will play.
And who will
never touch it.
And most of the time, his team was the one which was getting penalty and winning all the time. Because mukimshinda tu anachukua mpira anatoroka. And that's President Uhuru Kenyatta. So, and there's one notion that my brother advice has talked about. Independence of judiciary. Not just judiciary only, but about all the constitutional offices and the constitutional institutions that we have, the independent constitutions that we have in this country. one thing that we need to know is about that this independence that we are talking about, this institution, cannot entirely just come out from the institution. It's about all of us as a country.
Okay.
It's about the whole leadership in this country, either from the executive or from the political or from anywhere else, or the church leaders. We need to be all in one basket to be able to assist these institutions to be independent.
Okay.
Because look at this way. You have underfunded judiciary. You are the one who is issuing calls at night, orders from the above, on how judgments or court orders should be issued. Again, when court orders are issued, you are the first one not to respect them. But every time you talk about, and if you have anything to do with the judiciary, like appointment of judges, you are disregarding it. Then again, you want to come back and claim that the judiciary is using the president as a punching bag. No. We must, if we are to able to have a country where there's a rule of law, where there's some decency in the country, is that everybody must be on board and be able to assist these institutions to function very well. We are going to an electioneering period. Currently, we have not been able to appoint other commissioners to the IEBC. You have not been able to fund IEBC correctly so that we allow it to function properly. But again, we want this same IEBC to conduct credible and fair and accountable election. How? We need to assist Chebukati by giving him the proper environment or the conducive environment for him to operate. The judiciary under Justice Maraga was crying that it was lacking these funds. We were supposed to help it to get funds. We understand that we were in an economic situation whereby some of our spending was supposed to be cut. But you are only cutting spending of judiciary, you are adding to the parliament, to the legislation body, and you're adding to the executive. If you are to cut, let us cut. If it's 5% here, then here 5%. Let it be uniform so that you can be able to explain to people. But a budget of 45 billion, you are giving them 12 billion. How do you want judiciary to operate? They are talking about you being able to appoint judges who have already been vetted by an independent commission. Then you are not appointing them. Then you want this judiciary to work independently. How can it work independently when you are part of the problem that judiciary is facing? So we may blame judiciary, but we are all part and parcel of this problem. The people who are giving out bribes, we are the ones who are giving these judges bribes. We are the people who are actually, some of these things is part and parcel of our society. So if we are to fix judiciary, we are fixing our society. Or if you are to sort out this problem, we are sorting out this problem entirely in the whole country. Not just judiciary as an institution. We are talking about all the institutions. The legislative body, we are talking about the executive, we are talking about other independent institutions so that they can be able to work well and provide services for the Kenyans.
Okay. All right. There's another thing again on to push it to you, Mundalo. And it's about, I think you've not really commented on the CJ. I don't know, what do you think awaits her? Because she seems confident about a new position. There's been a lot of pessimism around her. There have been also political suspicions on where she's having a plate served from. I don't know, do you think she's ready for what lies ahead of her? We have an election that's coming up that is really highly mistrusted. She's starting off from a point of suspicion from the political players. We have a case already in court about the BBI, which every other person is waiting to see if the court will be manipulated. And we're already raising speculations on the control that the president probably is putting on the Supreme Court.
I think sometimes we are too pessimistic as a society about our leaders. It is only proper that we give people a chance to serve for us to be then to be labor judgment upon them. Because when I looked at the interview of Chief Justice Koome during the interview panels, she came out outright as a person who really qualifies for the job, not just because she's a woman or not because of any interest whatsoever, but as per the panel and how she answered her questions and how she put out her points. Most Kenyans, in fact, celebrated her on that day of the interview. It would be not very fair of us today to then start hitting her even before she takes office. I think a lot awaits her, and that is why I said in the first almost 100 days, Kenyans will have really chosen whether she's serving a master or she's serving the people. Because at the end of the day, here she is with a landmark case on the BBI where decisions have to be made. A decision of the court must be on one side. Okay. One side must lose, another side must win. But then what is important is how it can be able to come out and still look like justice and not
the
just
person who is even losing,
and not to the person who is even losing, not look like it's whipping from a particular segment, because that is what most people think today, that the CJ will be whipped from the executive, like that she's serving. Those are all just hearsay, and there's no tangible proof to it. So it is prudent that we give her time. I tend to believe in her capacity. I want to believe that just as good as she was on the panel, she would be good in serving the Kenyans. Until then we can lay blame on her. But for now, it is only proper that we trust her. It is only proper that we give her the environment for us, for her to serve. Let us not punch her too hard before she even settles in the office. Because there is a culture, Gerald, where as a society, we are generally very pessimistic about our leaders. And we are always believing that they cannot be able to serve as well, that they cannot be able to lead us to the next level, that they cannot be able to deliver even before we give them the office. And sometimes that is even what affects us, that we cannot, sometimes we even fail to see what they are doing because we believe they are not supposed to be doing anything. Okay. So I believe let us give the new CJ a chance. This is the first lady Chief Justice in the Republic of Kenya. It is historic. And I want to believe that just as historic as it is that she's the first Lady Chief Justice in the country, it will also be historic in even the way she will govern the judiciary. Okay. I tend to believe she will move it to the right direction. Let us not throw cold water on her too early. Let us give her a chance. Okay. And she might just deliver, and she might just be the right person that the country has needed all this time.
All right. So a guy called Mugai, is it Mugai, in Lamu, stood up with an ID card and went for the president. Armed with an ID card. Yes. And they got protesting joblessness and a bad economy.
Yes. We for a very long time as a country, we have had a wrong economic model. We have had a trickle-down economic model. And what has always been our problem has been that the model has been able not to, for the last almost how many years? Since time immemorial. That model has not served us very well. It has led us to all these problems that we are facing as a country of joblessness. We have been able, this economy that is not growing and it's not putting money into the pockets of Kenyans. And that's why some of us are of the persuasion that maybe this time round, we must have a fundamental change of where we change our economic model to bottom-up economic model from the current which you are having a trickle-down economic model. And I want my brother Mundao to understand this. And this is a simple way of explaining it. For you to understand the bottom-up economic model, you must be able to comprehend what is trickle-down. For trickle-down is whereby the government gives subsidies and incentives to the big boys so that for those who have money to invest, then they will create jobs, then they will be able to share wealth and pay salaries so that people can be able to grow. We have tried that for almost those years. It has failed. This time round, we are saying that let us appreciate this other economic model, which is called bottom-up, whereby everybody on whichever scale that he produces or whichever scale he engages in business, he can be able to be assisted so that that business can grow. Whereby those, if it's Mama Mboga, if it's somebody who is doing boda, if it's somebody who is doing taxi, what is it that the government can do to him so that it can increase his income from, if it's 300 per day to 500 per day? Then the policies that the government make each and every day should be friendly to this person. Okay. not the current policies that we are talking about that are of trickle-down effect. These policies are able to assist the big boys. And one case scenario is this. And this one is a simple one. Even outside here at Prestige, you'll find the huge mall has been constructed is there. But look around this mall. There are people, there's a stage of boda. There are those vibandas around there where people are selling food, where people, the shoe polishers are there, where all kind of businesses are outside there. These people are yearning for inclusion. Because we have a country where statistics, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics will tell you 80% of our working population, it is from the informal sector. But this informal sector, with the bad government policies, almost 60% of this informal sector has been criminalized. And to an extent that this 60% again cannot be able to pay tax. So we need an economic model where it will absorb these people so that we can be able to create more jobs. We can be able to put money into our people's pocket. And that is the fundamental discussion or the fundamental question we are having today.
So Mungai wanted to have a discussion with the president on the trickle-down effect. Or is it
No,
the bottom
I
up?
don't think Gerald, if I can weigh in on that.
Yes.
You know, the bottom-up economic model that has been advanced by KHALENDE's favorite side of politics, apart from making it emotional, sentimental, and using good English, they don't tell people how they want to implement this. It is very emotional when you tell people about how you want to put money in the pocket of the mama mboga. But it is important for you to state the how. Because that is what they are avoiding. The bad economic model they are busy castigating is what has been able to keep Kenya as a leading country in East Africa. Today, this economic model they are advancing is actually socialism that failed in Tanzania. That is actually just ujamaa that failed in Tanzania. This bad economic model they are castigating today is what has been able to put Kenya where it is today as one of the countries that is rising economically in Africa. But now when they come up with the sentiments and good English, and you know, most of the time, Gerald, when they explain this thing, they become very emotional. So they can they can endear themselves to the local mwananchi and say, you know, want to put money in the pocket of the boda. The question is how? Because you can it will not happen just by creating theories around it. Once in this country, Gerald, we cannot even be able to actually even tell systematically through a good procedure how many mamambogas are in Kayole, for instance. So how are they going to put these people into a model to ensure that this money is getting to them through which modus operandi of the government? That is what they need to be explaining to Kenyans, and not coming up with a very emotional explanation to persuade people to vote. This is, and the people who are propagating this agenda are the same ones who propagated the Jubilee agenda that has now failed flat-footed on the ground. These are the same people who promised Kenyans that, you know what, we will give children laptops. This one failed. How was that not bottom up? So it is wrong for them to come up with these emotive explanations. They must be able to explain to Kenyans how they intend to do this. Because if you're telling us you want to provide more wheelbarrows for people to now earn a living, in a country where we are having the rate at which people are going to school is going high by the day. The universities are churning out thousands and thousands of graduates every year. Instead of us talking about how we are going to convert these people, not just into employment, but into opportunities that can be able to deliver for the country. Because these people are not just about being employed, because these people are a resource. They are a resource that needs to be tapped by government to ensure that our economy even becomes better. Now, instead of having such kind of conversations, they are advancing conversations of providing wheelbarrows to people so that everyone can have little. I don't think it's about ensuring that in the country everyone has little and then everyone is not comfortable at all. I think we should be able to be advancing a narrative whereby we must be having a population of people who are comfortable, who can afford healthcare, who can pay their medical cover, who can be able to marry, take their children to school, and not a model whereby everyone becomes a peasant. So that everyone then has a little income that is not sustainable. We must be having conversations about people being sustainable, not this emotional bottom-up approach. And I want to challenge KHALENDE to give us the how. They want to put money in the pocket of the Mamamboga. Let him show us how they were going to put money in the pocket of the Mamamboga in Matayos, in Naitiri, in Oyugis.
And
how is Mamamboga going to get money in his pocket in Matayos? You've been tackled proper.
Advice the side that he always claims that he's an independent, concerned citizen. But I always tell him he always come here to hold brief for ODM and for strategic partnership with Kieleweke.
Strategic partners of Kieleweke.
He's hitting the messenger instead of hitting the message. You see, Tanga are very good with scapegoating.
Advice, hold your horses. I want to explain to you how the bottom-up economic model is going to be implemented and effected to change the lives of Kenyans. And this is one of the things that I should not be the one explaining it, because the bearer of this vision is one William Samoei Ruto. Up to today, if you have been very keen on his speech, on his talks, he has tried to explain. But let me, since I'm one of his converts, let me try and explain. You see, the bottom-up economics is going to be, it's going to be implemented through 3 pillars. One is the employment and income pillar. The second pillar is the financing development pillar. The third pillar, it's leadership and governance. Let me start with leadership and governance. For a very long time in this country, politics has always been organized on default setting. And the default setting of politics is identity. When you talk about identity in this country, you talk about ethnic tribe. Nasema ule ni Muluya, ule ni Mukamba, ule ni Mujaluo, ule ni Mukisi. Kaa kwa hii kona, weka kwa ile kona, tukutane hapa, we form an alliance, we go ahead. Then these people run away. They start looting this country left, right, and center. They create dynasties. This time round, we are talking about politics organized on economic interests.
Okay.
Ile region endaka, what are your economic interests? Ile region, what are your economic interests? How can we be able to bring our interest in terms of economic interest together so that the country even can do its way of doing things can change? And some of these things are being done even currently. If you look at what the governors have been creating, the regional blocks. Yesterday I was reading a 60-page regional block from Western. It's a wonderful, wonderful document. But now, how do we implement it? Those are the things we are talking about. Then there's another thing of about the state. How the state run its thing. We must be a state that respects the rule of law. Okay. We must be a state that respects the constitution. And this one I can refer to my brother advice. He's a good reader. He's an intelligent young man. If you go back and read Okoto Gendo's issue paper, where he talked about constitution without constitutionalism. When African countries...
The letter without the spirit.
Yes. They were having constitutions which the government could not, or the leaders could not use the same constitution. So that is one pillar. The second pillar I was talking about, it was financing development. You have heard this from the deputy president. He has talked about, this time round, we are having national government CDF funds, which is approximately 100 million every financial year. He has said in his government, he's going to add another 100 million to CDF. But this one is specifically for the Mamambogas, for the people in all these small, medium income activities will be able to get the funds and be able to facilitate their businesses. We are going to talk about now on financing development. There's another critical thing I must talk about. That is public financing, public saving. Currently, as a country, and it's good that you have talked about it when you are talking wakati tulikuwa tunalipa bills about saving. Kenya as a country needs to improve its saving culture. And the major undoing is some people in leadership in this country who do not have the brain or the capacity to understand that these things about saving, our saving culture. And the person who is in court blocking the government policy to increase our saving power, it is none other than Atwoli. Uganda here, our neighboring country, saving culture or saving percentage is higher than Kenya. The money that we are borrowing, actually to put this thing into perspective, the money that we are borrowing from China, it is the money that China has saved. China's saving percentage is at 50%. Kenya's saving percentage is at 4%. Uganda's saving is at 17%. Even Uganda's saving culture is better than ours. So if we can be able to save, we can be able to use this money to develop this country. The other pillar that I need to address is about the employment and income. The major employment contributor in this country is agriculture and income. But the way we do our agriculture in this country, you may think it's about attachment. And one person explained to me the other day, and I was shocked. The same percentage of, actually not even the same percentage, the same acreage of land that coffee is being planted in Central, and the same acreage of land of sugarcane in the Western sugar belt is the same acreage. But in the market, the person who is planting coffee gets $80 million, but the person, it's 80 million, not dollars, it's 80 million, but the person of who is planting sugar is getting 16 million. We must go and tell our people to invest in agriculture and invest in value crops, not just investing in other crops. Now, for example, maize. Maize takes almost 8 months. But in other countries where agriculture is paying, like in the US, maize does not take 8 months because maize is going to be used for dairy as a product for dairy farming. In fact, it is much profitable for people from Western, for people from Lembe to invest in dairy farming than in sugarcane and maize. The other day, somebody was saying in Rift Valley that the people in Rift Valley need to move from planting maize and move to planting avocado. People were laughing. They thought it was a joke. But today, avocado...
I was among those people.
Yes. Avocado is paying more than maize. So these are the fundamental discussion that we are going to have in this country through this bottom-up economic model. But what I understand, this is going to be a very painful discussion. And you can see the way my brother is. But however difficult it is, we must have this discussion. For us, we are not going to advance that kind of thinking. For us, we must just have a discussion. Alete point zake, nilete zangu, wananchi waamue.
Gerald, there is nothing painful about educating the people and ensuring that they are able to plant crops that are beneficial to them economically. There is nothing painful about that. And there is also nothing bottom up about that. That is just change and advisory to the people that you see what
But
instead of
that's
planting maize.
But you're taking
because
the conversation from the
same coffee. The same coffee is comparing with maize exists in the same country. The figures he is quoting are figures he's deriving from the same country without bottom up. So it is not about bottom up. It is just about, he has made a very good explanation, then just sugar-coated it by the term bottom up. When he talks about his first pillar, which was leadership and governance, where he says that they are going to look at region-based issues and they address regional issues. I've seen them meeting people from Mombasa and all these other regions. That is basically devolution. That is not bottom up. That is devolution. When they're talking about the culture of saving, it is, I usually run away from comparing a country like Kenya to Uganda. Okay, Uganda, I'm not even sure of the figures he has quoted, but if I can use them and believe them for now, that Uganda is saving 17% and Kenya is saving 4%, how come they're not better than Kenya? Why are you comparing us to people who are already doing badly? If Kenya is saving 4% and we are an economy that is still the titan in the East African region, then maybe you are telling people to save less. So there is nothing bottom up about saving. I don't see what is bottom up about a country saving more. That is just an advisory to government that we can be able to save more. There is nothing bottom up about that. When you talk about putting more money in the CDF, that is more or less the same as the BBI is saying that we want to put more money in county governments. There is nothing bottom up about that. When you put more money in the CDF, you empower the CDF more. It is still a trickle down because you are putting it first in the CDF, that is through the member of parliament and the CDF, then it trickles down to the people. That is not bottom up. Bottom up, I expect you to put the money in the Mamamboga, then the Mamamboga should fund the CDF. That is now bottom up. But the model that you are explaining, it is still a trickle down economy. And I've always insisted, Gerald, that they do not tell us about the how. They are telling us money will be put in the CDF. And I know all of us understand government operations very well. Once you put money in the CDF, let us call it even the 300 million they want to advance from 100 million. Will you be able to withdraw money from CDF, then walk around markets giving Mamamboga? The government does not work like that. Accountability is not done like that. So apart from telling us that the 200 million we are giving extra is going to the Mamamboga and the Boda Boda, can they tell us which model they are going to use to distribute this money to make sure that they have a channel in which they know every Mamamboga in the Republic of Kenya, a model in which they know every Boda Boda in the Republic of Kenya, and what is the qualification for them to be given this money? That is not what they are telling us. They are telling us very emotional stories, things that endear to the voter. They are whipping voters through emotions. You know, when a Mamamboga down in my village hears that the Tanga are saying that they will give them money through CDF, that KHALENDE will come with 200 more million to give them. In fact, by mere fact that it's KHALENDE coming with the money, it's already trickled down. It's not bottom up.
The money has to come from Mamamboga to KHALENDE.
It must come from the Mamamboga. For it to be bottom up, it must come from the Mamamboga to the MP, then to the government.
For the record, the problem with my brother is that he fears this word bottom-up economic model. He fears that word.
The word refuses to make sense.
Not that the word refuses to make sense. You know, you need to, these things, you need to appreciate some of these things because maybe they are new. And the best way is just take your time, go through it, and be able to understand it. You will appreciate it. No. You can take your private time, just go and read. There's a beautiful issue paper that David Ndi has written towards a new bottom-up economic model for Kenya. It's an issue paper. And he talks about all these things that I've highlighted for you. And you'll be able to understand when you talk about bottom-up economic model, and I've told you, for you to understand it better, you need to understand the way trickle-down economic model works. Whereby you invest money.
So you have to send money down first. Then it will come back up.
That is what is bottom up.
So you trickle down.
The trickle down economic model is where the wealthy ones are allowed to invest so that they will create jobs and they will create they will be able to pay salaries, then there will be a trickle down effect to the rest. But in this bottom up economic model, you take money down, whereby now the small medium enterprise people can easily access that money
How?
and invest in their how.
The question is how. Let us run away
I've
from
told you for a specific one, a good example. Currently, we are using there's a model for CDF. CDF is getting 100 million. CDF where they can be able to pay fees to support the needy, pay the classrooms, one road here, blah, blah, blah. Then now we are saying, since there's that one for those other things, we are going to allocate another 100 million shilling for now the small enterprise at the bottom of the pyramid, so that they can get funds, inject in their business. And when you inject in that small business of Mama Mboga, then you will have an effect from the bottom going up. And automatically there, you create jobs. You put money into people's pockets. And you can be able to expand your tax base. For simple thing, now how you can see the trickle down effect that we are having. The government wakes up in a day, say that all the things that we're having, this phone cover, the screen protector, they are counterfeit, so we need to ban them. The government wakes up, says the border is a menace. We need to ban this border industry. The government wakes up, creates 2 regulatory bodies. Now, like for the creative industry, our musicians today pay not even tax, pay money to 3 regulatory bodies.
4.
Almost, actually it's 4. And these regulatory bodies, they regulate themselves. So these are regulatory captures. These are kind of the effects of the trickle down effect, so that you can be able to protect the big boys in the industry and unafinyilia wale ambao wako chini. But with bottom up economic model, we are saying that the person at the bottom of the pyramid is empowered, not at the expense of the one at the top, but at the least, so that that one at the bottom can be able to increase his income, can be able to increase his profit, so that he can also rise. And by the people at the bottom being able to rise, we expand our tax base. We will not be able to borrow. Actually, we will not be borrowing the way we are borrowing. We will be creating, and we will be able to share. But from the political persuasion that my brother is holding brief for them, for them they're talking about sharing. They are not talking about creating. For them they're talking that we need to amend this constitution. We create 5 positions
so that we can share.
So that we can
share the prosperity.
We can share the prosperity. For them, they are saying that the youth of this country, what they need is a youth commission, so that we can reduce this issue of youth unemployment. There's another bottom-up economic model which was included with the Jubilee manifesto. But since the political persuasion that it comes from decided that that one does not matter, it's BBI, the Jubilee government put aside the thing to do with the Big 4. When you are talking about housing, the Jubilee housing was not about building houses. It was about creating employment. Because with the housing, it starts by people saving. If you are able to save 2,000 every month, that money will be put in a pool whereby it will be used to build a house. When you are building a house, how many jobs have you created? You have created a job for the advocate who will do conveyancing. You have created a job for the architect. You have created a job for watu ya mjengo. You have created a job for Mama Mboga mwenye atauza uji na maragwe kwa watu ya mjengo. And that was the main agenda for the housing in this Jubilee Big 4 manifesto. It was not just about the house. Yes.
And when he explains how the housing project will have an impact on the country, you can see it's a trickle down. Because he explains how then, because of it, it will trickle down to the mama mboga now selling uji to the watu wa mjengo. It is purely trickle down. The problem I have is when, and I insist that they do not explain how this model works. And in simple explanation, they always say, when something is reasonable and practical, it is simple in explanation. You can see my brother KHALENDE is taking almost 5 hours biting his tongue to explain a model that is supposed to be helping the people. Anything that is difficult to explain is not justifiable. So the thing is,
he has explained it.
The thing is, yes, he has explained it because he has used words. So we must call it an explanation. But have they actually trickled down to making sense? That is now where the problem is. The issue is we cannot be able to really push people into this thing called bottom up. It is something that is very nice to hear. It is something that makes people very emotional. It is something that ascribes, and it's a good tool to seek votes. It's a good political tool to seek votes. But the people must be able to know that that is not something that is coming to be justifiable in time to come. We will come back to the same crying, just the way they said ndani, and believed in the PowerPoint presentations that Jubilee did to them in 2013. That is the same thing that is now happening here. This is just semantics. There is nothing practical about it, but it is something that can actually get the Tanga faction to assemble some votes. That one it will be able to do because it's endearing, it's emotional, it is good to hear, but it is not practical on the ground. You cannot be able to really come up and say you want to you want to empower people from the. It is socialism. Socialism failed in Tanzania. It has almost everywhere it has been tried. It has failed. I'm not saying that what we have today is the best model that we have in the country. It can be improved, but that is not the solution. The problem with KHALENDE is he calls bad policy trickle down. I agree that we have poor policy in the entertainment industry, where we are taxing musicians with the PRSK is taxing them, MCSK, KFCB, Kenya Film, everyone is looking for some money from them. That is not the problem of trickle down. That is bad policy. We must be able to differentiate between just having bad policy and poor implementation and trickle down and economic model. An economic model must be something very simple to explain. It cannot get to a place where now KHALENDE, after a 5-hour explanation, he refers us to documents. It must be very simple.
I'm referring you to document where I appreciate you
very well.
You see, me referring you to a document is me appreciating
You're
your
bringing his
intellectual
intelligence.
Yes, me appreciate your intellectual capacity.
That he actually consumes information.
Some of this,
He's drafting in his reading capability.
KHALENDE is bribing me with a few praises here and there.
But one thing that my brother also has talked about, the regulatory capture. Regulatory capture is kind of a state capture. Who are these people that do state capture or do regulatory capture? They're the big boys. Who are these big boys? They're the beneficiary of trickle-down economic model. You see, my brother is just concerned about the bottom-up economic model. And that is his concern. But one thing that he must be able to appreciate is that for us, we are driving a conversation in this country which is issue-based. And we appreciate him being able to question, him being able to put me into tasks to explain my bottom-up economic model. That is the leadership that we want, because the conversation has already changed. We don't want this conversation. We don't want this conversation whereby
the conversation has changed.
The conversation has changed.
And you don't care whether he's working or not as long as the conversation has changed.
At the end of the day, Gerard, tomorrow, my brother advice is going to read and he's going to do many research so that next time he comes to the show and will be here, he'll be again asking me very many questions. And that's what we want. We want clarity. We want leaders who can be able to think through a solution. People who have clarity and can be able to provide solutions to the problem of Mwananchi. We don't want leaders who one of the person is holding a brief. He has been in Senate for the last 4 years, but he has never taken an opportunity to explain his agenda in Senate and he wants to be the president of this country. So, now we start asking ourselves, how will this person be able to articulate the issues za wananchi wa kawaida?
Tumefunga bottom up na trickle down. Wacha niangalie wananchi hapa kidogo YouTube. DJ Hang 25 this morning. Good morning to you. Prabhu Construction says good morning. This is QS Mwangi Kikui. Tuned in. Sana QS Mwangi. Just put it good morning to you. Ruben Olefa. Hello, what is the interruption? Okay, I didn't get it. Both sounds and video. Sorry. I don't know what happened. David Abde says elections is what voters want and they always know the consequences. For instance, we have been with the current government of Ruta for 8 years. David Abde says, you know, the big promises they made, especially from Ruta being a sweet talker, and the sweet talker is out with a new tag. Asla and voters are dancing to the tune. Kenyans will still cry. Unasema premium tears loading. Okay. David Abde says, the rule of law must be followed. Uhuru is getting all wrong when it comes to law for like KMC and some other, but kwa ground Uhuru was done good in several projects. Okay, David Yagona Posawa, issue-based discourse. Sante. Daniel Birgen, Mundalo does not get a suggested point on the 100 million CDF and 100 million direct financing to Mama Mboga. Daniel Bigan says putting more funds than 5% in the devolved government is still trickle down. But having funds under the CDF structure that's not controlled by the CDF committee but can be accessed, can be referred to as bottom up. Okay. Daniel Bigan says bottom up, as Mundalo suggests, is socialism. Is view when the Biden's persuasion of bottom up middle out suggestion to be an ideological shift by the US, which is predominantly capitalistic. Swali kwako. SJ Investigator says great. Asante sana. Steve Juma, good. Asante, thank you. Good to see you guys. Let me also go on Facebook and see that was on YouTube. Kiptum Simea Rap Kajura says na kufurahia State of the Nation kutoka Columbus, Ohio, United States. Asante sana. Thank you so much, my brother. LK Kiblagat watching all the way from Tangle Bay, Baringo. Sakon Kiblagat, Slovakia was part of Czechoslovakia, but peacefully divorced to become Czechia, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia in 1991. It was never part of the USSR nor Yugoslavia. Okay. Just as Otomo says, watching from Nakuru. Thank you, Geja Graphics. Governors are scared because of theft. Swala. Leshamu Roti Junior, morning Gerald. Bitok watching live from Nairobi. Long time, bro. Good to see you. I'm back after a short break. Asante sana, karibu sana Leshamu. Good to see you. Sami Kemboy looked in for Misiolo. Nels Yep Murahi. Tundi no Shamage. Tugul Jambo sana Nels. Amos Kiptuta logged in from Nairobi. Tum watching from Nairobi, Roger Kitur. And some morning General Bito, governor should be disbanded. Governor should be defunded and everyone of them jailed. None is clean. They may separate funds, and when it gets tough, they want to circumvent around the law to save themselves. The law is very clear. If he misappropriate funds, abuse office, and grossly violate the law by disregarding the demands of the people, you are shown the door. No, but if they want saving, they should resign and go to church for salvation. Devolution is a good thing if we get the right persons into office. We will optimize the benefits of it. Matiang'i is Uhuru software. It can't be impeached. It can never happen. He's misusing his office, to be honest. Okay? Wow. Okay. So Matiang'i is Uhuru software. Okay. Just Mutinda says, good morning. Bitok watching live from Likoni Ferry, Mombasa, Sagon, Kiblagat. Arama Kenyans like shiny things. Nairobi and Kiambu as examples, voting, bling bling, and braggadocio were our values. I believe the story is the same in other parts of the country. Sponsor syndrome and lionizing corrupt and inept people as our leaders, cutting into politics, religious settings, and even the kind of bawdy and uninspiring comedians. Okay? Interesting. Willis Konga says, logged in from Eldamaravin, Baringo County, Sakon Kiblagat. I disagree with panelists that thinks the judiciary is fighting back the executive. He's just straw manning and does not have any justifiable proofs. Just because it appears to you that the executive side has been losing most of the cases does not mean there is a vendetta against the executive. If they are following and applying the constitution and laws within our land, we have to agree with their verdict. Law is not about being fair to people who fail the law. It's about punishing people who disobey the law. Okay? Solomon Kuria says, gracious asante sana ndugu yangu Solomon. Brian locked in siasa na sheria mingi, and competition in the same will not take us anywhere. Focus on economic growth should be the agenda of everyone. I'm against judiciary fund. I will entrust my money to the arm of government that I directly delegated my power to. Judiciary is answerable and accountable to themselves. It is the only arm that remains unsupervised even by Kenyans themselves. Okay? Kenya Graph says talking points watch. Asante sana. Collins Shitukan says following closely. Kenya Graphics example of these policies that will work. Okay. Nilitosha Tarpa anasema Rosie from Tarbo enjoying the show. Asante sana Rosie, salimia walimu pale. Sagonge Baga says the best economic model is to have the least interference of the government and make it easy for people to do business. I'm personally against bottom up and trickle down and all those confusing models. It's a symbol. Create the conducive environment for doing business and others will follow. Okay. Yusuf Lele says huyo ajui anasema nini sijui nani hiyo. Nathan Kiptara Kwech team Takolo mnatesa huko Trans Nzoia County and Davis continue the kazi nzuri kutoka. Asante sana Nathan. It's good to see you. The graphics that's been gone in the it has been gone in the US. An example is the stimulus package huyu anatuchocha. Okay. Moses Cartel says the BBI guy should know policies matter. We saw Dangodo with Mama Suluhu. Industrialization is the way, not BBI nonsense. Gerald Rama says KHALENDE amepatikana. Gerald give KHALENDE a dictionary to look up trickle down economics versus bottom up economics. Okay. Just Manda says this BBI parrot anasema bottom up is Mama Mboga giving CDF money. Okay. Rico Para says good morning Gerald, someone tell Mundalo that mahali anakosa ni kufikiria as last tunataka pesa ya serikali for bottom up approach. All we want is the government to let us work with the little we get kwa ground by reduction of taxes et al. Okay. Joel Rama says KHALENDE, how can you expand the tax base when the base is being strangled by taxes? Okay. James Miller says out of more than 20 million income earners, only around 4 million pay tax. It's true we need to expand the tax base. Okay. Stan Melly, the BBI guy is kind of emotional. He needs to argue issues objectively and rationally. We all have witnessed what the trickle down has done. It's time we try a different perspective. Okay, James Mwanda, dear Mundalo, Prisk, MCSK, Camp, etc. do not tax musicians. They collect royalties on behalf of musicians. Joel Arama, how is the Musicians Commission an organization will stop taxing by giving money to Mama Mboga? Okay. Haya, tukifunga kiosiki. Sijui kama kuna anybody wants to comment on the comments that you've read?
Yeah, I think there's good engagement, and actually you can see that Kenyans really understand the issues that bedevil this country. Mm-hmm. And when you even just read, even from their grammar and from their suggestions, you can be able to see that those are people who are in need of real opportunities. Mm-hmm. The bottom-up economic model tells us that we need, for every boda we need one more. Mm-hmm. For every Mama Mboga, we need one more. Mm-hmm. That is what the bottom-up economic model tells us. Today, Bitok, if Trio Media and Safaricom and every other giant was able to say they are going to give 10 Kenyans a job, and there was also a Mama Mboga who said she's also going to give 10 Kenyans a job, we all know where Kenyans want. We all know the job Kenyans want. So this bottom-up economic model is good on paper, but is impractical. Okay. It is something that elevates our poverty standards. All right.
As we finish, what should you expect from the courts? BBI heads to court this week, I think. What should you expect from the court, KHALENDE?
What from my perspective or from my understanding, there's nothing that the pro BBI can do, because the High Court pronounced itself very well, and some of these. You see, they are entitled to the appeal up to the final High Court, up to the final, the highest court of the land. But I think things are just going to be the same, because the main contentious issue is that BBI is unconstitutional. Okay. Kwisha.
And of course,
but the next thing I want to to persuade my brother that next time, since for us we have offered the bottom-up economic model, we are talking about hustlenomic. Let them also come up with the ideas and tell Kenyans. You know, these things that for them now they have decided, let them hit at hustlenomics, at the wheelbarrow, hit at the bottom-up, and create propaganda we are not going to accept. Let them also come up with a suggestion
and a plan model.
And an alternative plan of what they have for Kenya. Yes. Then we will have a conversation as we move on.
What do you expect, my friend?
I think I expect fairness from the courts. It is fair to you? It is something that is very difficult for them, because, as I said earlier, we Kenyans are divided on both sides. We have some who support BBI, we have some who don't. Fairness, according to the listener, is always what goes his direction is what is called fairness. But then, in as much as they must come up with a decision, let them be able to come up with it in a manner, and even in their explanation, let it be able to be really justifiable that it was the fairest of the processes. Okay. That is all I expect from the courts. I am not hell-bent on believing that BBI is unconstitutional, as KHALENDE puts it with outright energy per se, because the same courts have really been helter-skelter about this. There was a time people went to court at the start of the process. The courts granted them permission to go on. If this process was unconstitutional, it was supposed to be stopped at that level, because there are so many things that we Kenyans are asking ourselves. We're asking ourselves if the magistrates and the judges have security of tenure, if the parliamentarians can speak whatever they can speak in parliament, and they have the security, they are protected by law to speak that in parliament and do whatever they can do in parliament without being vindicated, what then makes it that the president has nothing he can do, and everything he can do, he can be sued for it in his personal capacity? I think those are the fundamental questions that Kenyans are asking themselves that really need the next appellate court to ensure that they give us very proper. It's not just about the BBI ruling. It's also about the many things that were inside the ruling that need clarification. That is what I expect from the courts.
The clarification, and what scares the advisors or those who are close to the president is the finding that the president can be sued, and the finding that the president did not uphold the rule of law, and the president did not protect the constitution. Actually, we can use the Mumbi Ngugi ruling that they have been using to remove governors from office, to remove the president from office. That is what is scaring them, and actually that's what, technically, from Keleweke side, that's what they are just going to court to do. But from the other side of ODM, they are entirely blinded with the BBI reggae thing, and they are inside there.
You know, Gerald, KHALENDE happens to know everything about whichever side.
Maybe you never know. Maybe let me tell you, a spy. Spy. Is that a spy or is a spy?
We know these people. And we know each other. So we
you
know how they play their game.
KHALENDE talks authoritatively about Tanga, authoritatively about authoritatively.
No.
Now he knows the internal wrangles of ODM, and he's the omega that is supposed to solve them.
For the record,
I think actually what KHALENDE means is he's the thing this country needs.
No, for the record, for me, I'm very comfortable and I understand the things to do with the Tanga. For ODM, I read the newspaper, I see them on news. So when we advise, what I'm supposed to do, we are here to analyze this situation. So when I analyze, it does not mean that I'm the...
Gerald, what is analytical about someone declaring a process unconstitutional?
Okay.
Because that's what the court has stated. I'm not. It's not something that I've just...
You'll come back next week to tackle each other. Jambo, habari asubuhi.
Jambo.
Naongea na nani?
Martin.
Yes, Martin, niambie dadi. Martin wa Kikuyu, ndio?
Yeah.
Okay, mambo.
Today we've had a good discussion hapo.
Asante bro.
But ambia Mundalo asome. Mwambie asome, waache ku depend on Thomas Kukwinyi.
Asome.
Nisome nini, Martin?
Asome, bottom up economic search for people like Paul Krugman, Piketty, economists. Watakwambia it works.
Yes.
This form of capitalistic approach whereby it trickle down, it doesn't work. Even in the US, they're complaining. So we need to find a way in which we can be able to have a socialist society and a capitalist society, like the Nordic countries.
Okay.
And I think today has been good.
Thank you, bro.
I've enjoyed the conversation.
I appreciate. Makosa yetu tu tumefanya tu tumakulia time yenu ya bunge, lakini poleni.
Nimekuwa nikijaribu kutafuta KHALENDE lakini reply message yangu bwana.
KHALENDE reply.
Narudisha ujumbe bwana.
He's not trickling messages down.
He's not trickling down information.
Tunaongea, tunakutana nyuma ya hema.
Wewe Jo bana, nimekuwa nikikutafuta nataka tuongee bana.
Tukutane nyuma ya hema.
mi pia ni mtu wa kutoka kwa Western na kuna a lot of things that we need to discuss, especially people from Western Kenya and youth specifically. Because you can see how these other leaders were to disappoint.
Kabisa.
Angalia mtu kama Mudavadi.
Kabisa.
Mtu kama Wetangula, mtu kama all these people are just a mess. We need new crop of leaders wenye wanaweza tusaidia si kama vijana so that we have a space for ourselves. Okay?
Asante sana Mato.
Sawa Mato.
Tuonane kesho kwa siasa Wednesday.
Pamoja.
Asante kwa siku njema. All right, thank you guys, it's been a pleasure having you gentlemen, I really appreciate. Naona watu wa YouTube wanasema Mama Likondi, thank you Gerard, asante sana Josephat Kibedo, Muthaiga listening, thank you, appreciate. Steve Juma, okay, nakuwa na Facebook pale mwisho tukifunga. James wanasema expect the court to completely destroy BBI, the letters B and I should also be removed from alphabet. Alphabet, whatever it is. And even if not BBI. Anyway guys, it's been a pleasure having you on Tuesday, State of the Nation Tuesday. I hope to see you again next week. The tacklers who have been with us online, we really appreciate it, from YouTube all the way to Facebook. It's been a pleasure having you. The guys who are retweeting on Twitter as well, asanteni sana, may God bless you. This is the Tackle and Tackles now. We love you and signing out. Bye bye.